Alright guys, what is going on? So today's video is about why I believe in God. And you may hear that and be like, wait, hang on, Pokey? But it's true. I believe in God. And I believe that following his way is a really good way to live life. Now that's gonna sound really weird. Well, if you don't believe in God, it's gonna sound weird. But I'm gonna explain why I believe that. But I just wanna say this video isn't trying to I'm not trying to prove that God exists, you know what I mean? And although I'd love to influence someone positively from this, I'm not trying super hard to convert you or force my beliefs on you. This is just what I think. And I just want to say my beliefs are constantly changing, so this is just right now. In a few months, there could be changes. I've got to start this by saying I genuinely believe that there's meant to be an option. I genuinely believe you can't scientifically prove that God exists. I believe there's a reason, that there has to be an option of faith, and there has to be an option of following his way and stuff. I think if everyone knew for certain that he was there, it would be no question. It would take out the purpose. Everyone would just do it. So I just got to start the video like that. But anyway, yeah, you may be thinking, Pokey, that's weird. What's going on? Nah, I've been slowly going towards this for a few years now, to be honest. So it's not a sudden thing. It's not I, dipped my hand in some water and I was like, I found the answer to life. It's been gradual. But basically, I grew up not knowing if God existed. I was never raised religious or anything. But very roughly speaking, certain beliefs I had just grew, and then I found more psychological and metaphysical aspects to it. And then I just started applying more and more of these teachings and these ways into my life, and it just gradually got bigger and bigger, until it turned into a full belief. So anyway, why do I actually believe it? Well, the first reason is very simple, is that I think there's an inherent essential truth to life, which is that love and goodness sounds corny, but love, being good to people, basically being honorable and true and everything like that, it's just the truest thing that life has to offer, right? And I'm not saying I'm some really good person, but I just really have always believed that that's the case. And I know a lot of people who say you don't need to follow religion to do those things. And yeah, that's fair enough. To me, I think it's a guiding point. And there's just an essential truth at the bottom of the religions. Now, I do just specifically want to say that I think the teachings of Jesus Christ are very, very important. And the words of the Bible are important, if this wasn't clear. There's just a certain love and humility to them, which is just, it's pretty special, I guess. Now, the second one is honestly just everything seems too perfect. And the world doesn't feel perfect if you're a human. It's full of suffering, it's full of horrible stuff, you know what I mean? It looks chaotic. But when you actually delve into it, the way our biology and I believe we evolved, but I believe that God did evolution. But basically just the way you delve into our biology and the patterns of nature and mathematics and the weather systems and history and everything having congruence. I don't know how to explain it, but everything seems to overlap just about perfectly. There seems to be some perfect synchronization to the world, you know what I mean? What I definitely don't believe, I really don't think is true, is that there was just a random explosion and then everything just happened by cosmic chance. Even just basic things the earth has to be spinning exactly like this, and all the solar system has to be in exactly the right place, and the exact chemical conditions have to be present for the earth, and just a bunch of other stuff. It just seems so divine, really. I mean, some people say, well, there's infinite space or whatever, or loads of space, so it's bound to happen at some point. Well, I don't know about that. It just seems too perfect. That's what I'm saying. I also think believing in God takes you away, and following God takes you away from all the excessive pleasures. There's nothing wrong with happiness and normal pleasure and stuff like that, but excessive pleasures, excessive lusts, excessive negative attachments to like toxicity and hate and bad things in the world and just excess pride and all of that. Like believing in God really helps with that. And I believe everyone could do with a little bit more of that, me included. Like it is something that you think like, oh well, there's no problem with this, this little thing I have, but it does help to get rid of it, and it has an effect you just don't realize. And that's the other thing. I believe that like following God has so many different effects on the people around you, yourself, your community, if you're part of a community, the world, everything, like spiritually, everything like that. I think it just works on so many levels if you like really follow it, and I think it just works deeper than we can understand, and that's why I think it's good to follow it. Like I think there's genuinely a good reason to that means more than we can get our head around, if that makes sense. And I'm also not saying that if you follow God you'll have like a perfect life, or like stuff won't go wrong for you. The other thing is I definitely believe something created us. I 100% believe that. Surely something had to create us. Like this world doesn't feel eternal, if that makes sense. Like I might be wrong, but everything in it feels like it has been created by something and it has a cause. Like everything is cause. It doesn't feel like we're just in this eternal, but who knows. But that's just my sense, that something created us. And for me, I just think something created us really deliberately and precisely, with an overriding theme of love and goodness, even if it doesn't feel like that. Now, the next one is actually just my personal experience, and I'm not gonna explain a bunch of stuff. And it's fair enough if you hear that and you're like, well, you could be lying, or, you could be delusioned or whatever. But basically, in my personal experience, I've seen this stuff works. Like I feel this stuff works. I know it works. Like I can make this statement that I believe I know there's a God as much as I can know anything. So obviously I'm not certain of anything, but I'm pretty much as certain as I can be through the way that things have gone for me, that there's a God, if that makes sense. So if you trust me, I'm a reasonably honest guy. Hopefully that means something. And maybe I'll elaborate on this more in the description if I think of some other stuff, but yeah. Also, I just really believe in the strength of prayer. If you already believe in God, or you've already devoted a lot of yourself to God, I think a lot of the perception of prayer is it does nothing, and it has no effect, and it's just delusional people doing delusional things. But I do think it works, and I think that's because there's a God and he hears. But even physiologically, in our body, prayer just has such a good effect. It's like a meditative effect, and it's very calming, and it sorts out your mind, and it works. Even just psychologically, it works. I think it puts your messy brain in a bit more order. Now, it works way better if you believe and you have that, I guess, connection to God. But yeah, I think prayer is good. And I don't mean asking for a new Bugatti Veyron, but I'm saying it can really help when you're just lost, or when you have bad anxieties or stuff like that, and other stuff. Don't get me wrong, I'm not some master of prayer, but yeah, I think it's a really good thing. And if you believe in God, I encourage you to pray. Obviously, you probably are already, so I don't know what I said. And that's the whole thing. Our bodies in the world is kind of set up in a way where the teachings just work. Jordan Peterson kind of explains it. The teachings just work because of the way our psychology and physiology is set up. Now, some people will see that and they'll be like, oh, well, they'll think there's no God and it's just science. But what I think is a logical reason for that is that a God has made the world and our psychology work with the the biblical teachings and stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to understand it more scientifically, I recommend Jordan Peterson. It's not perfect, so take it with a big grain of salt, but he has some very good lectures on sort of just the deeper meaning of stuff in ancient stories. And he has a lot of self-improvement stuff as well, and psychology stuff, which really has helped me in my life and could easily help you too. So yeah, shout outs to Jordan Peterson. So yeah, that's pretty much all my reasons. I did just want to add a little bit at the end, right? Because a lot of people say, if there's a God, why is the world such a terrible place? And why is there so much suffering? And it's a fair question. And obviously, I can't answer that, really. I'm just going to give a counter argument, which is that you just can't have good without evil, and you can't have, like, happy without sad, and you can't have amazing without terrible, and you can't have, like, ease without hardship. And it's kind of just how the world goes round, man. I obviously it's horrible. Like, you hear terrible things happen, and you think, like, why does that need to happen? And I don't know, but I feel like the world is just so much more complicated than we can ever imagine. Things happen that we just don't understand, and good comes from bad and bad comes from good, and it's I don't know. And also just the fact that we the way we evolved was literally through hardship and suffering, like constant fights and wounds and just challenges and all of that. Like, if you believe in evolution, that's how we evolved, man. So that's just a little reason. That's just what I think. That being said, I don't enjoy suffering. Like, I don't think it's a amazing thing. Like, I don't want to trip and fall on 100 pieces of Lego. But that's just an answer I have to that question. So anyway, that's the end of the video. Oh, the last thing I was gonna say is I just think, like, the stuff that's going on in the world now, like, let's say politically and like geopolitically, and like stuff with governments and all this stuff and corporations and everything else, like, I don't know how to best describe it, but I do think that points to a sort of, like, need for God in the world, if that makes sense. And I do feel like there's a lot of I just do feel like there's a lot of powerful forces in the world which are, like, going against God, if that makes sense. So I think there's that too. And hey, do some research yourself. Don't just read, like, a CNN article on, Christianity. Like, you gotta find the good stuff, So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Have a good day, guys. Peace.